Jealousy and comparison are everywhere, scrolling through social media, walking through a crowd, even in quiet moments of reflection. These emotions can silently chip away at our confidence, leaving us feeling stuck and discontent. But what if I told you the power to overcome these feelings has been within you all along? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy, offering us a timeless way to reclaim our peace and purpose. So, how can ancient Stoic wisdom help us navigate these emotions in our modern lives? Today, we'll explore principles like cognitive detachment, resilience, and presence tools that can transform how we see ourselves and the world around us. Join me as we uncover how to break free from the grip of jealousy and comparison and step into a life of clarity and confidence. Jealousy and comparison, those all too familiar emotions, can feel overwhelming at times, but Stoicism offers a refreshing lens to understand them. From a Stoic perspective, these feelings don't arise from the world around us, they come from within. Stoicism teaches us that our emotions are derived from our perceptions, not the events themselves. In other words, it's not the achievements of others or the circumstances we find ourselves in that create jealousy or comparison. It's how we interpret and react to those things. At their core, these emotions often stem from a desire for external validation. We measure our worth against others, seeking approval or recognition from outside sources. But the Stoics remind us that this is a shaky foundation to build your peace of mind upon. Why? Because external events are beyond our control. What we can control, however, is how we perceive and respond to them. As Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Take something as common as social media. How often do we scroll through posts, inadvertently measuring our lives against the highlight reels of others? A friend's promotion, a colleague's vacation, or even someone's seemingly perfect relationship can trigger feelings of inadequacy or envy. But Stoicism challenges us to pause and ask, why are we giving so much power to these external markers of success? Are they truly reflective of our own values and goals? This is where the Stoic idea of focusing on what's within our control becomes transformative. Instead of fixating on what others have or how we stack up, we can redirect our energy toward our own growth and inner peace. Jealousy and comparison, while natural, are obstacles to that peace. They distract us from cultivating the things that truly matter: our character, our resilience, and our ability to live in alignment with our principles. So, the next time you catch yourself feeling jealous or caught in the comparison trap, remember this Stoic insight. These emotions aren't about the world around you, they're about how you're choosing to see it. And that perspective is something you have the power to change. How often do you find yourself seeking validation from others? Could shifting your focus inward help you find more lasting contentment? What if I told you that jealousy often stems from fixating on things beyond your control? This is where the Stoic principle of the dichotomy of control comes into play. The Stoics believed that life can be divided into two distinct categories: things we can control and things we cannot. On one side, we have our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. These are entirely within our power. On the other side, there are external factors like others' opinions, achievements, or circumstances, things we have little to no influence over. As Seneca famously put it, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. In other words, much of our distress, including jealousy, comes from overthinking situations that are outside our sphere of control. Understanding this principle can be transformative. When we stop seeking external validation and instead focus on what we can influence, we reclaim our energy and redirect it toward meaningful growth. For instance, instead of wasting mental effort comparing yourself to someone else's success, you could spend that time developing a skill or nurturing a passion. This shift not only reduces feelings of envy, but also empowers you to take actionable steps toward self-improvement. So, where do you often lose focus on control? Is it in worrying about how others perceive you, or perhaps in measuring your worth against someone else's accomplishments? Recognizing these moments is the first step toward applying the dichotomy of control in your daily life. By practicing this principle, you can cultivate a mindset that prioritizes internal growth over external comparisons, paving the way for greater peace and fulfillment. Stoicism offers a powerful tool for dealing with jealousy and comparison: cognitive detachment. This practice involves observing our emotions without being consumed by them. Think of it like standing on the shore of a river, watching the water flow by without feeling the need to jump in. Stoicism teaches us to witness our emotions without letting them dictate our actions. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." This reminds us that our reactions, not the events themselves, shape our experience. Cognitive detachment allows us to recognize feelings of jealousy or comparison as fleeting rather than defining. Instead of letting these emotions take over, we can step back and see them for what they are: passing thoughts, not truth. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, famously taught his students to detach from material possessions, emphasizing that external things don't control our inner peace. In today's world, this wisdom applies to the envy we might feel when comparing ourselves to others' success, achievements, or lifestyles. Take a moment to reflect. How often do you let jealousy define your self-worth? When you notice these feelings arising, try to observe them without judgment. Ask yourself, is this emotion serving me or is it holding me back? By practicing cognitive detachment, you can create a mental space where jealousy no longer dictates your actions and you're free to focus on what truly matters. How often do we overlook what we already have while coveting what others possess? This question lies at the heart of jealousy and comparison, two emotions that can easily derail our peace of mind. The Stoics, however, offer a powerful antidote: gratitude. By shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already possess, we can begin to untangle ourselves from the web of envy and dissatisfaction. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it beautifully when he said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that true contentment comes from appreciating our own blessings, not longing for someone else's. To put this into practice, consider starting a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few moments to reflect on the things that enrich your life, small or large. It could be something as simple as a kind word from a friend, the warmth of the sun on your face, or the comfort of a safe home. The act of writing these down helps to anchor our attention to the positive aspects of our lives, making it harder for jealousy to take root. I encourage you to try it today. Before moving on, take a moment to list 3 things you're grateful for. This small exercise can have a profound impact on how you see the world and your place in it. Gratitude, after all, isn't just a feeling, it's a practice, one that can transform the way we navigate life's challenges. Stoicism teaches us to embrace our circumstances, even when they seem less favorable than others. This is where the powerful concept of Amor Fati comes into play, a Latin phrase meaning love of fate. At its core, Amor Fati is about fully accepting and even loving the path you're on, no matter how it compares to someone else's. Instead of wasting energy on jealousy or resentment, this Stoic principle invites us to see our own journey as uniquely ours, something to be embraced rather than resisted. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, deeply influenced by Stoic thought, once described it this way: my formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati. In other words, true greatness lies in the ability to love and affirm your fate, no matter what it brings. This doesn't mean passively resigning yourself to hardship. Rather, it's about actively finding meaning and growth in every twist and turn. When you truly embrace Amor Fati, jealousy loses its grip because you're no longer measuring your life against someone else's. Instead, you're focused on making the most of what's yours. Think about a modern example, a career setback like losing a job or missing out on a promotion. At first, it might feel like a blow, especially if you see others succeeding where you've struggled. But with Amor Fati, you can reframe that setback as an opportunity, a chance to pivot, learn new skills, or even discover a path you might not have considered otherwise. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about finding value in the imperfect, the unexpected, and even the difficult. So how might you apply Amor Fati in your own life? Start by reflecting on a situation where you felt jealousy or comparison creeping in. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from it? By shifting your focus from what others have to what you can make of your own circumstances, you'll find a deeper sense of contentment and purpose. Amor Fati isn't just a Stoic idea, it's a mindset that can transform the way you experience life, turning envy into empowerment and acceptance into action. How often do we find ourselves fixated on what someone else has achieved, rather than embracing the moment we're living in right now? The Stoics offer a powerful antidote to this tendency, the practice of presence. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," a reminder that the here and now is the only reality we truly have control over. When we get caught up in comparing ourselves to others, whether it's their past successes or their future potential, we're essentially living outside of our own reality. And that's where jealousy and dissatisfaction thrive. By focusing on the present moment, we shift our attention away from what others are doing and bring it back to what we can do. The Stoics believed that the present is where our power lies. It's where we can take action, make choices, and cultivate gratitude for what's already here. Think about it. If you're constantly worried about how you measure up to someone else, you're missing out on the opportunities and joys right in front of you. One practical way to cultivate this focus is through mindfulness meditation. By training your mind to stay anchored in the present, you develop the ability to observe your thoughts without getting swept away by them. This isn't about ignoring ambition or growth, it's about grounding yourself in what's real and actionable. When you're fully present, comparisons lose their grip. You begin to see your own path more clearly, free from the distractions of others' journeys. Take a moment to reflect. How many times have you missed out on your own life because you were too busy looking at someone else's? The present moment is your invitation to reclaim it. Stoicism teaches us that inner resilience is one of the most powerful tools we have to combat jealousy. When we build this strength, we become less vulnerable to the grip of envy. Resilience doesn't mean ignoring life's challenges or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about understanding and accepting them as part of the human experience. As Seneca once said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. This isn't just a poetic idea, it's a practical truth. When we face hardships, we grow stronger, more adaptable, and less likely to feel threatened by the achievements of others. Think about a time when you faced a professional setback. Maybe you were passed over for a promotion or struggled to meet a challenging goal. At the moment, it might have felt like a blow to your confidence. But looking back, it's likely that experience taught you something valuable. Perhaps it pushed you to work harder, develop new skills, or even reconsider your path in a way that ultimately led to greater fulfillment. That's resilience in action. It's not about avoiding pain, but using it as a catalyst for growth. When we cultivate this mindset, we start to see other people's successes in a new light. Instead of feeling envious, we can view them as sources of inspiration. Their achievements become proof of what's possible, not a reminder of what we lack. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, it becomes a natural way of thinking. It's about recognizing that everyone's journey is unique, and comparing ourselves to others only distracts us from our own path. So the next time you find yourself feeling jealous, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use it to fuel my own growth? Resilience isn't just about enduring life's challenges, it's about transforming them into opportunities. When was the last time you truly examined the root of your envy? It's an uncomfortable question, but one that Stoics would argue is essential for personal growth. Jealousy, as we've explored, often stems from comparing ourselves to others, but Stoicism teaches us to turn that focus inward. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." In other words, self-reflection is the starting point for change. It's about asking yourself hard questions. Why do I feel this way? What am I truly seeking? Is it validation, success, or something else entirely? Stoics didn't just preach self-reflection, they practiced it daily. They believed that understanding our emotions requires looking at them objectively, almost as if we were observing someone else. This practice helps us detach from the intensity of our feelings and see them for what they are, temporary and often rooted in our own perceptions. One practical way to do this is through journaling. At the end of each day, take a few moments to write down moments when you felt jealous or envious. What triggered it? How did you respond? Over time, patterns will emerge, and you'll start to identify the deeper causes of these emotions. But self-reflection isn't just about identifying problems, it's about creating solutions. Once you understand what triggers your jealousy, you can take steps to address it. Maybe it's a fear of failure, a desire for recognition, or a sense of inadequacy. By acknowledging these feelings, you can begin to work on them, whether that's through setting personal goals, practicing gratitude, or simply reminding yourself that your worth isn't tied to someone else's achievements. So take a moment now to think, what stirs up envy in you, and more importantly, what can you do about it? Stoicism challenges us to define success on our own terms, urging us to look inward rather than outward. In a world that often measures worth by job titles, bank accounts, or social media likes, the Stoics remind us that true success isn't found in external validation, but in the quality of our character and the depth of our values. As Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This insight shifts the focus from what we lack or what others have, to what we already possess within ourselves, the capacity for growth, integrity, and virtue. Take a moment to consider how you define success. Is it tied to promotions, possessions, or public recognition? Or is it rooted in something deeper, like the strength of your relationships, the peace you cultivate in your mind, or the kindness you show to others? The Stoic approach invites us to realign our goals with what truly matters, freeing us from the endless cycle of comparison and jealousy. Imagine a modern scenario, two people working in the same field. One measures their success by climbing the corporate ladder, while the other finds fulfillment in mentoring colleagues and building meaningful connections. Both may achieve their goals, but the Stoic would argue that the latter aligns more closely with a life of virtue and contentment. This isn't to say ambition is wrong. It's about ensuring our ambitions serve our values, not the other way around. So, how might you redefine success for yourself? What internal qualities or actions bring you a sense of fulfillment, regardless of how they measure up to others? By shifting our focus from external achievements to internal growth, we not only reduce feelings of jealousy, but also cultivate a more authentic and satisfying life. This Stoic perspective isn't just a philosophy, it's a practical guide to living with greater purpose and peace. How much of your self-worth is tied to others' opinions? It's a question worth sitting with, especially when jealousy and comparison creep into our lives. The Stoics offer a powerful antidote to this struggle, shifting our focus from external validation to internal criteria. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." Think about that for a moment. If the opinions of others lack true understanding or insight, why do we give them so much weight in our lives? The Stoics believed that true peace comes from validating ourselves through our own principles and actions, not through the fleeting approval of others. When we rely on external validation, we hand over control of our happiness to people and circumstances that are often beyond our influence. This makes us vulnerable to jealousy because we're constantly measuring ourselves against others' achievements or opinions. But what if, instead of looking outward, we turned inward? What if we judged ourselves by our own values, efforts, and intentions? Here's a practical way to start. Consider reducing your social media usage. Platforms like Instagram or Facebook often amplify comparison, as we're bombarded with curated highlights of other people's lives. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking likes, comments, or shares as a measure of our worth. But what if you took a step back and asked yourself, does this align with my values? Does this truly reflect who I am? The Stoics would encourage you to focus on your own journey, not the curated snapshots of others. Take a moment to reflect on how often you seek approval from others. Do you notice a pattern? Perhaps it's in your work, your relationships, or even your hobbies. Recognizing this tendency is the first step toward cultivating self-validation. The Stoics remind us that our worth isn't determined by external accolades or comparisons. It's grounded in our ability to live authentically, guided by our own principles and intentions. This shift in perspective can be transformative, freeing you from the cycle of jealousy and comparison while empowering you to focus on what truly matters, your own growth and integrity. Stoicism offers a refreshing perspective by reminding us that perfection is an illusion, and chasing after it only fuels envy and dissatisfaction. When we fixate on flawless appearances or idealized versions of others, we set ourselves up for endless comparison and frustration. Instead, the Stoics encourage us to embrace our imperfections as part of the human experience. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This wisdom highlights the importance of self-acceptance and self-control. By acknowledging our flaws and focusing on progress rather than perfection, we break free from the trap of comparison. Think about it this way: when we accept that everyone, including ourselves, has limitations, we can direct our energy toward growth rather than envy. For example, imagine someone who feels inadequate because they compare their career achievements to a colleague's seemingly effortless success. Instead of fixating on perceived shortcomings, Stoicism teaches them to ask, what can I learn here? How can I improve without measuring myself against someone else's journey? This shift in mindset allows us to move forward with purpose and peace. Consider how this applies to your own life. Where are you holding yourself to unrealistic standards? How might embracing your imperfections help you focus on what truly matters? Stoicism reminds us that true freedom comes from mastering our thoughts and emotions, not from chasing an unattainable ideal. By letting go of the need to be perfect, we reclaim the power to define our own path and find contentment in the progress we make. What if our value wasn't tied to what we achieve, own, or how others perceive us, but instead it was rooted in who we are at our core? This is precisely what Stoicism teaches, that our worth is measured not by external accolades, but by the quality of our character. For the Stoics, virtue embodied in wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance is the highest good. It's the foundation of a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most revered figures, put it simply: waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This isn't just a call to action. It's a reminder that the pursuit of virtue is within our control, no matter our circumstances. When we shift our focus from comparing ourselves to others to cultivating these virtues, something profound happens. We stop measuring our success by external standards, wealth, status, or possessions, and start evaluating ourselves by internal growth. How often do we allow envy or insecurity to creep in because someone seems to have more than us? But the Stoics ask, does any of that truly matter if it doesn't make us better people? Virtue, they argue, is the only thing that can't be taken away from us. It's the one thing we can always strive for, regardless of what's happening around us. So, how can we apply this in practical ways? Start with small, intentional actions. Practice kindness even when it's inconvenient. Choose honesty even when it's tempting to bend the truth. Cultivate courage by facing challenges instead of avoiding them. Each of these choices builds the foundation of a virtuous life. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Ask yourself, how can I embody wisdom in my decisions today? Where can I exercise temperance in my habits? These are the questions that guide us toward genuine growth. The beauty of this approach is that it redirects our energy inward. Instead of wasting time comparing ourselves to others, we're focused on becoming the best version of ourselves. And isn't that what truly matters? When we prioritize virtue, we find a deeper sense of fulfillment, one that isn't swayed by the ups and downs of external validation. So, take a moment to reflect. What step can you take today to nurture virtue in your life? It might just be the most important step you ever take. Stoicism teaches us that our emotions are shaped not by the events around us, but by how we choose to view them. This simple yet profound idea is at the heart of overcoming jealousy. When we feel envy creeping in, it's often because we're seeing someone else's success as a threat to our own worth. But what if we could shift that perspective? What if, instead of feeling diminished by someone else's achievements, we saw them as a source of inspiration? Epictetus once said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them." This is the power of perspective in action. When we recognize that our emotions are tied to our interpretations, we gain the ability to reframe them. For example, let's say a colleague gets a promotion and your first reaction is envy. Instead of dwelling on what you don't have, you could choose to see their success as proof that growth and opportunity are possible. Their achievement doesn't take away from your potential, it highlights what's achievable. Practical applications can make this shift easier. Start by asking yourself, how else could I see this situation? When you catch yourself feeling jealous, pause and consider what's really bothering you. Is it the event itself or the story you're telling about it? Often, jealousy stems from comparing yourself to others, but remember, comparison is a choice, not a necessity. Reframing others' successes as motivation can help you focus on your own path rather than feeling stuck in someone else's shadow. Take a moment to reflect. How might you shift your perspective the next time jealousy arises? What would it feel like to replace envy with curiosity or even admiration? By changing the lens through which you view the world, you can transform jealousy into a tool for growth rather than a source of pain. How does holding onto resentment keep you trapped in comparison? Think about it. When you cling to bitterness, you're essentially chaining yourself to the very person or situation you feel wronged by. The Stoics had a lot to say about this. Seneca once wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." In other words, resentment doesn't punish the person who hurt you, it punishes you. It keeps your focus locked on what others have or what they've done, feeding the cycle of jealousy and comparison. Stoicism teaches us that forgiveness isn't about excusing someone else's actions. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of those emotions. When you let go of resentment, you reclaim your energy and focus. You stop measuring your worth against others and start directing your attention inward toward what you can control. Imagine a colleague who gets a promotion you were hoping for. Holding onto anger or envy won't change the situation, but it will drain your peace of mind. By choosing to forgive and move forward, you break free from the comparison trap and open yourself up to new opportunities. Take a moment to reflect. Are there resentments in your life that might be fueling jealousy? What would it feel like to release them? The Stoic approach isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that holding onto negativity only harms you in the long run. Letting go isn't easy, but it's a powerful step toward reclaiming your peace and focus. Stoicism teaches us that humility is a powerful antidote to jealousy. It allows us to appreciate the strengths and successes of others without feeling threatened or diminished. When we embrace humility, we recognize our own intrinsic worth without needing to outshine anyone else. As Marcus Aurelius wisely advised, keep yourself simple, good, pure, serious, unpretentious. This simple yet profound reminder helps us focus on our own character rather than measuring ourselves against others. Practicing humility helps reduce the constant urge to compare. Instead of feeling envy when someone excels, we can celebrate their achievements with genuine praise. This shift in perspective not only fosters healthier relationships but also brings us inner peace. Try this. The next time you encounter someone who seems to have it all, pause and acknowledge their strengths without letting it diminish your sense of self. Humility isn't about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking of yourself less. It's about recognizing that everyone has their own journey and their success doesn't take away from yours. Take a moment to reflect. How can you cultivate humility in your daily life? Could it be by listening more, seeking to learn from others, or simply acknowledging that you don't have all the answers? Embracing this virtue can transform how you relate to the world, helping you find contentment in your own path while appreciating the paths of others. What if we saw others' successes as collective victories rather than personal threats? This simple shift in perspective lies at the heart of Stoic thinking when it comes to community. The Stoics believed deeply in the power of human connection, seeing it as essential to a fulfilling life. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." This idea reminds us that our relationships with others aren't just incidental, they're central to our growth and happiness. When we focus on competition, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison and jealousy. But what happens when we reframe that mindset? Instead of viewing someone else's achievements as a threat, we can see them as a shared triumph. Think about a sports team, for example. When one player scores, the entire team celebrates because that success belongs to everyone. The Stoics would argue that life works the same way. Every act of kindness, every shared victory, strengthens the bonds that make our lives richer and more meaningful. So, how can we start fostering this sense of community in our own lives? It begins with recognizing that we're all part of something bigger. When a colleague gets a promotion or a friend achieves a goal, instead of feeling envious, we can choose to celebrate with them. This doesn't just benefit them, it strengthens our own sense of belonging and purpose. The Stoic approach to community isn't about denying our individuality. It's about realizing that our individual growth is deeply tied to the well-being of those around us. Take a moment to reflect. How can you shift your focus from competition to collaboration? What small acts of kindness or support could you offer to those in your circle? By embracing this Stoic perspective, we not only reduce feelings of jealousy but also create a more connected, fulfilling life for ourselves and those around us. Stoicism teaches us that true happiness comes from within, not from external achievements or comparisons with others. At its core, contentment is about shifting our focus from what we lack to what we already possess. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it beautifully when he said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that the key to contentment lies in cultivating gratitude for what we have and freeing ourselves from the endless chase for more. Think about it. How often do we measure our worth by comparing our lives to someone else's highlight reel? Social media amplifies this tendency, making it easy to feel like we're falling behind. But Stoicism invites us to step back and ask ourselves, what truly matters? Is it the admiration of others, the accumulation of material things, or the peace of mind that comes from appreciating the present moment? One practical way to practice contentment is by focusing on simple pleasures: the warmth of the sun on your skin, the laughter of a loved one, or the satisfaction of a job well done. These small, everyday moments are often the most meaningful, yet they're easily overlooked when we're fixated on what we don't have. So take a moment to reflect. What brings you genuine contentment? Is it a hobby, a relationship, or simply the ability to live in the present? By identifying these sources of joy, you can begin to build a foundation of inner peace that shields you from the corrosive effects of jealousy and comparison. How does forgiving others free us from the grip of jealousy? It's a question worth exploring, especially when jealousy and comparison seem to tighten their hold on us. The Stoics offer a powerful answer: forgiveness. They believe that holding onto grudges or resentment only chains us to negative emotions, while letting go, choosing to forgive, can set us free. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, instead of harboring bitterness or competing with others, we can rise above by choosing kindness, understanding, and inner peace. Forgiveness isn't about excusing someone's actions or saying they were right. It's about releasing the weight of anger so it no longer controls us. When we forgive, we're not just freeing the other person, we're freeing ourselves. Jealousy often stems from comparing our lives to others, whether it's their success, achievements, or possessions. But when we forgive, we break the cycle of comparison. We stop measuring ourselves against someone else's story and instead focus on our own path. Imagine someone in your life who seems to have it all, maybe a colleague who got the promotion you wanted, or a friend who's living the life you've dreamed of. Holding on to envy only keeps you stuck. Forgiving them, even silently, allows you to move forward without resentment clouding your mind. Let's take this a step further. Think about who in your life might need your forgiveness. It could be someone who's hurt you, someone you've been quietly resenting, or even yourself for past mistakes. The act of forgiveness isn't always easy, but it's transformative. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you can create. By releasing the need to compete or hold grudges, you open yourself up to greater peace and clarity. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, isn't just an act of compassion, it's a tool for personal freedom. Stoicism teaches us that a simple life is a content life. When we strip away the excess, the constant need for more possessions, status, or recognition, we find that our minds become clearer and our hearts lighter. The Stoic value of simplicity isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. By simplifying our desires, we minimize the urge to compare ourselves to others because we're no longer tethered to external validations or material benchmarks. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This profound insight reminds us that true poverty isn't a lack of resources. It's an insatiable hunger for what we don't have, a hunger that fuels jealousy and discontent. Embracing simplicity shifts our focus from external achievements to internal fulfillment. Instead of measuring our worth by what others have or what society dictates we should aspire to, we turn inward. We begin to value our own progress, our own peace, and our own sense of purpose. Think about it. When you declutter your physical space, you create room to breathe and think. The same principle applies to your mind and desires. By letting go of what you don't truly need, you make space for what truly matters. So, how can you start embracing simplicity in your own life? Begin by assessing your desires. Ask yourself, what do I truly need to feel content? Is it the latest gadget, the bigger house, or the perfect job title? Or is it something deeper, like meaningful relationships, personal growth, or a sense of calm? Decluttering your life, whether it's your schedule, your possessions, or even your social media consumption, can be a powerful first step. Reflect on what you can let go of to create more room for the things that bring you genuine joy and fulfillment. Simplicity, after all, isn't about having less, it's about making space for more of what truly enriches your life. What if your value wasn't tied to what you've accomplished, but who you are? This is the heart of the Stoic approach to self-worth. Instead of measuring ourselves by external markers like job titles, wealth, or social status, Stoics teach us to focus on cultivating virtues within. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that strength comes from developing qualities like wisdom, courage, and integrity, qualities that no one can take away from you. Think about it this way: when we tie our self-worth to external achievements, we're constantly chasing validation. A promotion feels great, but what happens if you don't get it? Or what if someone else achieves more than you? Comparison and jealousy creep in, and suddenly your sense of worth is shaky. But when you shift your focus inward to the kind of person you're becoming, the game changes. You're no longer at the mercy of outside circumstances. Take Epictetus's words, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom, in this sense, isn't about what you own or what you've done, it's about self-mastery. It's about knowing that no matter what happens externally, you're anchored in your own virtues. Imagine valuing your growth over your job title. Instead of stressing about getting that promotion, you focus on becoming a more patient, resilient, and compassionate person. That's where true self-worth lies. Here's a modern example. Let's say you're passed over for a promotion. It's easy to feel defeated, to compare yourself to the person who got it. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if you asked yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? That's the Stoic mindset. It's not about ignoring the sting of disappointment. It's about using it as fuel to become better. So how can you start building self-worth from within? Begin by identifying the virtues you want to cultivate. Maybe it's courage, facing challenges head-on. Maybe it's wisdom, making thoughtful decisions. Whatever it is, focus on progress, not perfection. Every small step you take toward becoming the person you want to be is a victory in itself. Remember, your value isn't tied to what you achieve. It's tied to who you are and who you're becoming. As we wrap up, let's revisit the core Stoic principles that can help us rise above jealousy and comparison. First, remember the dichotomy of control, accepting that some things are within our power while others are not. This simple yet profound idea reminds us to focus our energy on what we can influence, like our thoughts and actions, and let go of what we can't, such as others' opinions or successes. Next, cognitive detachment teaches us to observe our emotions without letting them define us. When feelings of envy arise, pause and ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this within my control? Finally, practicing gratitude shifts our perspective from what we lack to what we already have, grounding us in contentment rather than endless comparison. These principles aren't just philosophical ideas, they're practical tools for everyday life. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. These words remind us that true power lies in how we choose to respond to the world around us. By focusing on internal growth rather than external validation, we can break free from the cycle of jealousy and comparison. So, how can you start applying these insights today? Take a moment to reflect on where jealousy or comparison might be holding you back. Is there an area where you can shift your focus to what's within your control? How can you cultivate gratitude in your daily routine? Small, consistent steps can lead to profound changes over time. If you found this approach helpful, consider subscribing for more Stoic insights to guide you on your journey. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's build a community of support and growth together. Remember, the path to overcoming jealousy and comparison begins with a single, intentional choice. What will yours be?